We don't want to see another Cancun in Belize.
How do you buy real estate responsibly in Belize without harming communities?
I always tell locals, if you don't have to sell it, keep it.
Bruno Kuppinger, 2017 Tour Operator of the Year, connected hundreds of visitors with Maya and Garifuna communities for more than 25 years. Now he's a Century 21 realtor in Toledo.
People from San Pedro, Placencia are looking into Toledo. That's a hotspot.
Bruno, you've spent more than 25 years in Belize, in tourism. Now you're in real estate. You could have retired. So I'm really curious as to why you decided to get back into a new area.
Thanks very much, Mr. Liz. It's close to 30 years now in Belize. And, once you get a little older, it's not any longer the time to swim through caves and getting wet and do jungle expeditions. And I had even a woodworking shop for many years. One day, we built a kitchen for the franchise owner, Mike Singh. He said, you know what, we need somebody in Toledo for Century 21 or for the South. I said, well, Mike, I'm very busy. I don't think I can handle that. But then I want to move Belize. I want to move Toledo forward. And I said, okay, let me do that. The first year, we sold quite a bit of properties through networking. It's not the money why I do that, real estate. Even I can honestly say, if I would have done that 25 years before, I think I never had to swim through caves and some other stuff, right? But it's a nice combination. And tourism helped me a lot, knowing the country very well from Sardinia, from the north, all the way down to Barranco, each little corner, the islands, the beaches, farm, undeveloped land. So I have a pretty good overview about the real estate market in Belize. That helped to make a decision very easy.
There's a lot of interest in Belize right now in the last few years. Is it foreigners who make up the bulk of people who are buying in Belize over the past year?
90% is mostly foreign nationals who would do investments in Belize, but we also have locals, of course, companies who see the opportunity to purchase properties in areas what they might think that's a hotspot in the near future. I remember my days in Placencia. You could have easily purchased for $25,000 US. Now, 25 years later, going down from Maya Beach, St. Bay, Placencia pointing lagoon side and beach side is $1 million and up. You can't get anything under $1 million anymore. Similar like in Ambergris Caye, San Pedro, Kriol, those are the hotspots. Wherever you have beaches, the Caribbean Sea in front of you, you pay extra. And those properties are limited. We have 8,848 square miles, and we have the longest barriers in the Western Hemisphere. Yes, new developments are coming. For example, in the south, Punta Negra, a Kriol fishing village, only accessible by sea at the moment, but where the government is planning to build the roads through Monkey River, maybe even a bridge across. It has to be a balance between protection of the natural resources, but also at the same time production. We don't want to see another Cancun in Belize. We don't want to see another Playa del Carmen, but careful planning.
I was going to say the question of the overdevelopment is a hot issue right now. And as you mentioned, Ambergris Caye, which is also now going through tension because there's so much development. A lot of Belizeans feel that they're not necessarily able to afford it anymore. How do you balance that? Here's Toledo, the place that you've loved for so many years that you live in, lesser visited, nature rich and culture rich. How do you balance that with bringing people in?
Toledo is blessed. We have quite a bit of marine protected areas with Port Honduras Marine. You have the Sabadilla Keys, we have the Agua Caliente Wildlife Sanctuary. Then remember, we have the Caribbean Court of Justice case 2015, where at the moment there is no way that we can purchase, transfer any land within the vine community. So that's a big section of Toledo, what is protected until the people of the villages will decide if they want to go for communal land rights or individual land rights. So we are in the process of demarcating the different boundaries from the villages. So that was the first step. The second step will be that the people in the villages make the decision together with the Maya Leader Alliance and then also with the government. It's a win-win-win, hopefully. So I think the balance is here in Toledo. We have big investors. We are looking for expanding the cacao business. I personally have somebody from Orlando who does quite a bit of investment here in Toledo. He has in Orlando big chocolate and candy businesses like products, Harry Potter chocolate frogs and some other stuff. He fell in love with Toledo and with the people. We stepped in last year purchasing cacao beans, what helped to increase the price for the farmers to $3 because we only had one company, Maya Mountain Cacao. Competition is good. You can see the farmers building expansions of their homes, that vehicles. So the economy is doing well as it relates to that. But again, as you said, I also recommend and always tell locals, if you don't have to sell it, keep it. Don't sell it now. Because once it's sold, it's sold. You have that money for maybe 5 years or 10 years if you don't invest that smart. And then, 10 years later, you start by scratch again. So we have a little responsibility as realtors to make sure we help and guide the locals as well, instead of just buying and selling.
That's such a great point. What actually brought you from Germany to Belize?
My background is banking. I have a master in banking. I developed the east part of Germany with BMW network, but it's quite a bit of stress. And I always said, I want to do something different. I want to go back to nature. It's not about the money and always getting higher and higher and higher. For me, it was always important to have that personal relationship to people, to culture, to experience new things. In those days, there were no internet available. It was practically only the guidebooks, early 90s. So I bought 15 guidebooks. There was Paraguay, Belize, Vietnam, Cambodia. And at the end, I said, let me check Belize. I didn't tell anybody from my relatives or my friends, not even my father. My father, I think I told him that one day before I left, and that was it for 3 years. My daddy didn't talk to me. He was really a little disappointed. But he came then afterwards and visited Belize several times. And I packed in my suitcases, 2 of them, my backpack, and a laptop. I never left.
You ended up in Toledo, which is farthest south in
Yes.
Belize. And most people didn't even go there at the time.
Even now,
Even
yes.
now. Oh, really?
90% of the local Belizean population, they haven't been in Toledo. You go to Cayo or some other districts and say, oh, I'm going to Toledo. People would say, Belizeans, why you would go to Toledo? There's nothing to do. But because they haven't been there, Toledo was totally unknown. And I said, let me start my little business down there with some cabañas and some tour operations and some cave explorations and cultural experiences. I had a great move, and it was always also a little luck. You need good people around you.
You have been so embedded in the communities there. What did you learn from that time of working together with the Maya communities, with tourism?
I wish that visitors coming to Belize could dive into the culture a little more, but I totally understand as well the time is limited. And that's where a good guide or a good tour operation comes in to connect the locals with foreign nationals. I remember the story from Jose Mes in Santa Cruz, who started the Maya Living Experience, where you also had the chocolate festival established in 2018. And it was a great experience for the people in the village. They made a good amount of money selling their crafts. And I think that's what it is. You need to help those communities. You have to be there. They know how to make chocolate, or at least the cacao drink. But when it comes to more details where they never had exposure, then you bring in some knowledge a little bit and they take it to the next level. But leave it up to the people in the community. Don't come with that attitude and say, listen, we know everything better. It doesn't work in none of the communities.
What's the state of real estate market right now?
I mean, I remember 25 years ago when I purchased some properties in Toledo, I paid maybe $500 Belize for an acre, 250 US. Those days are gone also a long time. 10 miles, for example, inland, an acre could come up between $5,000 and $10,000 US. What is still a reasonable figure for 4,000 square meters, but the prices are not going down anymore. It's a boom getting started in Belize. And especially in the southern part, we experience that people from San Pedro, Placencia are looking into Toledo because that's at the moment a hotspot where people see there is still a good amount of properties available, very reasonable. And some of them, they are just tired living 30 years in Ambergris Caye and things develop there. It's getting busy. The island was 5-10 years ago, a couple thousand. Now you have 35,000 people sometimes in the high season.
How do you learn the laws and the process as a foreigner? Obviously, you can own outright.
And that's very important compared to other countries. For foreign nationals, you can own your own property. You get a deed or you get a title for it, and you can later on sell the property, including the investment. It's pretty easy to have a purchasing or the steps well done in Belize, but it comes back to you need a trustworthy person or you need somebody who you trust as a realtor. We have a lot of foreign nationals coming in, and the first thing they do, or they jump into the real estate market because there is not really a licensing authority ready at the moment, but many of them, they don't even get any training. So they just start, they hang out in bars and say, okay, you know what, I have, and they think they get rich overnight. And that type of things you have to watch out, that you meet the right people who have the experiences and who also have the network to the lands department, because that's absolutely key. You have to make sure before you purchase anything also that there is a due diligence. You have to do this title search. You have to go back to the roots. We had so many experiences that sometimes people would sell a property in 2025 and it was already sold in 1999.
A lot of times what I hear, and I think I've had questions about that here on this channel, is people who see a really attractive offer online, maybe a condo development, and they're very interested in it and they say, is it legitimate? How do you handle things like that you see on social media? What are the red flags?
Don't trust anybody. Do your own research. Check out the different properties, the different market, the different destinations within Belize. Compare the acreages with the price, beach, creek, river. Get a little feeling about the value of certain properties. As you said, the market is flooded with realtors and brokers. Some of them, they even copy your listings. We have an exclusive listing, and all of a sudden you'll find it on another website just so they can get brokerage, half of the commission. So you have to be very careful. You do a viewing of the property, and after the viewing, you might maybe do an offer. When two of them agrees, then a purchase sales agreement would be created. Both of them would sign, and then the purchase price would go into an escrow account, either through a law firm to make sure it's safe before there is any title transfer happening, and the due diligence again, that the title is clear, and then the land tax is paid. And they have most of the time also, just like Century 21 or Remax or other realtor, they have an escrow account either in Belize or in Belize and outside of Belize. Also very important, check out properties in the rainy season. Many people think, everything is beautiful, and is beautiful also during the rainy season. But if the river nearby is flooded and you have to bring the little home 16 feet high on stilts, that's something we have to consider. And people will not tell you that at the beginning when it's dry season, but honest realtors will share those information. So it's very good to come maybe one time in the rain season and one time when it's really dry to get a feeling of both worlds.
If I wanted to buy land in Toledo, not too far from the city, and I want a little farm as well, how many acres is that? And what's the range of price?
Yeah, I think what people are looking into, that you also have a little bit of a food security, a little garden around. 5 acres or so is, I would say, a decent size. And that's because most of the time, if you build a little or bigger home, you don't need more than an acre for the home. And then you have the rest either fenced or doing a little vegetable garden. And you look into, I would say, between 50 and 60,000 US for 5 acres. Yeah, that could be a little cheaper if you go a little more inland, but it could be also going up to 80,000 or so if you go closer to Punta, like 3-4 miles outside Forest Home, Eldridgeville, and those villages. And even there, it's harder to get bigger acreage because most of them are already subdivided in smaller lots. And then smaller lots, they cost already, some of them $5,000 or $10,000.
What are some of the infrastructure realities that you should be ready for? Any unexpected costs?
Depends within each destination. Not everything has water. Not every village has electricity. But the ones closer to Punta along the highway, well, you connect with electricity, they have 5G internet. In many cases, people come and they would drill their own well because they love the natural access to have water, and they would love to install solar. We have quite a bit of sun during the hot months, and even what we call green season. Everything is accessible. 3-person, 4-persons household, the electricity bill is about 40 US a month, maybe 50 if you run another fridge. The same for the property tax. A lot of people underestimate that it's about 1% of the property. I have paid sometimes for 44 acres. The government, they charge you 10 US per year for 44 acres. But it's more like agriculture, developing land. That's about 14 miles out of Punta. If you have something closer to Punta, you pay maybe 100 or 150 US. If you look at the US, we pay sometimes $10,000-$15,000 US for a small little home, right? Just to compare those figures, you have to include usually as a foreign national 8% stamp duty. on top of the listing price or the purchase price. And for Belizeans, it's 5%. And then you have additional between 1-2% lawyer fees to make sure everything goes right.
What are the 3 areas to buy in right now in Belize?
So at the moment, I would say the hotspot is in Toledo. There is some development coming up, as I mentioned, in Punta Negra, Punta Tacos, 10 miles of sandy beach. The interesting part is we have a lot of erosions in some of the areas where, Monte River loses, some of the islands are losing some of the beachfronts. That area is getting more. I have seen properties for the past 10 years, they gain 1 or 2 acres. So they have now river frontage or sea frontage more than 12 acres.
Did go once to Punta Negra.
It's the Kriol fishing village. Maybe only 20 people live there, but the environment and everything is so beautiful. They have lagoons to the back, Payne Street National Park. So there are not so many properties available, and at the moment only accessible by sea. But the road will be built, and what I also mentioned to some government officials, they protect it in a way that if you build the road, make some section only accessible with golf cart, electric, not like in San Pedro, gasoline and all those other stuff. Make it really environmentally friendly.
Who would you say it's not for to buy in Belize?
You need to have a love for the country. You need to educate yourself for whatever happens in Belize. Just to jump in at something I wouldn't recommend, because then it's not the right decision to make to purchase something. You have those people, yes, they say, oh, I heard about Belize and just throw money into a property and they're lucky that they find the right thing. But I would say majority of the people who invest, they educate themselves before they come. So it's a mixture.
Would you say it's a good choice for women, senior women?
Toledo is very, very safe for single women. Has the least crime in the whole country of Belize. Yes, you have domestic violence and some other stuff also, but we have it all over the world, but you don't need burglar bars. You go with your bicycle to the market. The kids are walking to school. It's not like in the US or in Europe. Here, everything very laid back.
For someone who is watching right now, what would you say to them?
Get started. Don't waste time. As I said, don't invest at the beginning. Learn a little bit about the country of Belize, about the people, about the culture. Come and visit Belize. Get a little taste of Belize, of the food, of the people. You need to learn the language, the English, before you come, at least a little bit, because otherwise it makes it difficult, especially when you're a little older and you can't communicate. And then remember, we have Kriol in Toledo and Belize, and that's so easy to understand for someone who only speaks English. Spend 2-3 weeks in Belize if possible. Go back, think about it within those 2-3 weeks, see as many different properties as possible, meet realtors, get a little feeling of who you think is a trustworthy person, and then you go back, get connected to those realtors for your next steps, and then come back again.
Thank you so much, Bruno.
Very welcome, Lily. Always a pleasure.